Hey everyone, I'm Sarah. I blog at Whirl.
I'm Kristen. I blog at Rage Against the Minivan.
And today we're talking about vaccinations. Because we just want a lot of people to yell at us.
I know. I just want people to be mad.
I want to get people really mad about what I say about my children.
It's like a unifying conversation.
Yeah, everyone is so supportive of each other with this conversation.
It's laid back.
So what's your stance?
Well, you know, there was this big measles outbreak apparently at Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my stance on vaccinating. First of all, I think it's a giant first world privilege to be able to not vaccinate your children. And I feel like nobody wants to talk about that. That like the only reason we can even have this debate is because vaccines have eradicated life-threatening illnesses in our country. And we have vaccines to thank for that.
Yes.
So, you know, I do think that it is, of the highest privilege to think, like, I don't need to worry about vaccines at all.
Right.
Because I think what you're saying when you decide not to vaccinate your children is you're saying, I'm not going to travel anywhere where they could potentially be exposed.
Right.
I am not concerned with children who are immune compromised.
Yes.
I don't know.
That's a huge one.
To me, like being a good global citizen means getting vaccinated.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree completely. And also, I think I think some people out there that don't vaccinate at all, and you ask them why they don't, they really don't know why. They just kind of know maybe they read something somewhere and they're worried about. And I feel like, let's just talk about the science behind the matter. Can we just go with science? And trust me.
No.
I know. I mean,
it's too crazy.
You know me. I'm white light central.
You are.
I mean, I've done some weird stuff. But like, really, when you just look at the studies, you look at the statistics, everything that's happened, you know, like with the autism scare.
Yes.
I mean, that's been completely revoked. I mean, the doctor was like, botched it.
Yes.
I've read, and I love to research this stuff. I have read article after article
you're
after
super
article.
woo-woo. Like, you won't even put eyeshadow on that, like, isn't CDC approved or something.
And that's a good point. Exactly. I will not put stuff on my body that doesn't score some. I mean, I'm like a crazy person. I don't. But I still am going to vaccinate my children because, especially now, you just see these outbreaks that are happening in these communities, and kids are dying.
Yeah,
they're dying.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that vaccines are perfect.
They're not.
And there can be some harm done by a vaccine, but that number is so much smaller than what the number would be of injuries and death had you not vaccinate, you know?
Well, and the thing is, I'm all for people being informed, and I'm even for people making their own decisions. I mean, I chose not to give my babies that I had in the hospital certain vaccinations that I thought, like, okay, you can only get this disease by, like, having sex or sharing a needle.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they're not going to do that in the 3 days that, you know, they're in the hospital. So I did do research, and I actually did veer a little bit from the schedule, or, you know.
Which I think is totally fine.
But by the time we entered kindergarten, everybody was up to speed.
Yes, I think that if you choose to, you know, stretch out your schedule, and because I mean, it is, and when you have a little baby there, and they're getting 5 vaccinations today, and you're like, what? They're just,
and then they're
sick,
get it,
and and then they get like a little bit of a fever and all that stuff. But can we also talk about, while we're talking about vaccinations, is the flu vaccine this year, and a perfect example of things just kind of going wrong. You know, there are so many strains out there, and obviously many of you probably know, you know, the CDC did not pick the correct strains. My son was in the hospital during the Christmas holidays.
And did he get the flu shot?
Yes, he was vaccinated for the flu, and
ended up in the hospital
somehow, with 2 separate strains of the flu. That kid, how lucky is that? He contracted 2 separate strains of the flu within the same week, and add stress to that.
That's talent.
But he was admitted to the hospital because of the fevers, the duration, and how high his fevers were for an entire week. And, you know, of course, I'm just like, why did I give him that flu vaccine? So even I get that. So, I mean, I'm not saying they're perfect, you know, but I do think generally, especially with these diseases that were almost completely eradicated, that are now coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, people should be scared of measles.
Yeah.
And
I also think people should be considerate of the children that have diseases that mean they cannot get a vaccine. So it's because you know what I would hate? I would hate my child to be, patient 0 in a new outbreak.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should all, it's just kind of like, we're all living here on this earth and trying to be like good global citizens. I don't know. I feel like
I mean, I
It's an
completely agree with you.
empathetic choice to vaccinate your child, even if you're not concerned about your own child.
Exactly. What do you guys think about this?
Not that we have strong
But don't, just, you know what, don't even tell us. Don't yell.